Hello, everyone, and welcome to the December Bytesize for Bango. I am Benjamin, your host, and today we're going to be talking about a subscription category that appeared very fast and is already behaving like a top-tier must-keep service. This is premium AI subscriptions. Now, we're going to be looking at what people are paying for, which services, how much they're spending, what the friction is, so their user behavior, and then also look about how subscription providers and bundlers can come together and really, help this industry out. I'm going to be joined by Giles, who is going to bring to life how he uses AI in his day-to-day life. And then we're going to get into a bit of data from our recent report, The Rise of the AI Subscriber. But firstly, Giles, how are you doing today? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, very good. Greetings from Cambridge. It's just started raining. It's a bit gloomy. We had Christmas jumper day yesterday, but I'm feeling good.
Good to hear. Right, I think we just get cracked on straight into the content. So just to set the scene a little bit, AI is obviously everywhere at the moment in the headlines, but what really has changed is how mainstream it has become. So you can see on the left-hand side here that TechCrunch reported that ChatGPT was Apple's most downloaded app in 2025 in the US. And that's a useful signal, really, because it's shown that this is not a niche behavior anymore. It's actually mass market adoption. And we're also seeing this in the content world as well. It's moving really, really quickly. Recently, Disney, they struck a deal with OpenAI around Sora, where Disney has now become the major content licensing partner for Sora for image creation using the Disney character IP. So when we're talking about premium AI subscriptions today, we're not talking about just a feature. We're talking about a new subscription category that is pulling in consumers, creators, and the biggest media brands. So we're going to run through some of the findings. Giles is going to run through those, and we've also got time for some Q&A. So if you've got any questions, please do put them into the chat. I'll try and pick these up as we go along to make this really interactive. But if not, we've got some time at the end of the session. So Giles, do you want to kick us off? Your subscription stack. Now, this is quite interesting, isn't it? I mean, 11 you're using. Do you want to talk us through these a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So these are the 11 that I'm using. I'm not paying for all of these. I'll tell you which ones I'm paying for. So ChatGPT is one that I get through Bango for work. And I'm using that pretty much all day, every day. That's my first stop. Initially, I was using it for writing content or doing some deep research. Now I'm using it actually as a prompt to create prompts, which I then use in other tools. Claude is something I'm using for longer form content writing. I think I prefer the style of it. So if I put something in and I want to optimize a bit of text or something, then I'll use Claude and then see how that is and then take it offline again. Perplexity is quite good for deep research, so I'm using that from time to time. But Gemini is the one that's really, in the last couple of weeks particularly, I've started using that more and more. That's one that I'm paying for myself. And I've got a feeling that in 2026, I'm going to be using that for pretty much everything. So really strong on image creation, great for deep research. But recently, I'm starting to see the benefit of using the ecosystem. So for example, pulling in YouTube videos and asking it to summarize the YouTube video. It can do that in seconds, and then you can create an infogram off the back of that. So that's really cool. Midjourney, image to video. So you can load an image there and turn it into a video, or you can create images there and then turn it into a video. So that's pretty cool. DeepL translation app. Suno I use for text to music. So you can create some pretty amazing music from there with or without lyrics. I'm often doing it without lyrics for the bed to go behind videos I'm creating. CapCut for image editing and AI subscriptions. Kling AI for video. So I could use ChatGPT Sora or Gemini's VO, but Kling seems to have some amazing features. I did one yesterday that went really well on LinkedIn. 11 Labs great for voiceovers. And Notebook LM, you can upload a load of documents to it and then turn it into either a podcast or some kind of written summary. So yeah, a lot of them I'm using pretty much every day. Some of them I'm paying for. Claude is one where I get throttled pretty quickly. By that, I mean, I use it a few times and it says, now you need a paid subscription. And because I've already got ChatGPT and Gemini, I'm not paying for Claude, but that's one that I'd like to, but I just hit that cusp of not quite ready to pay for it yet.
I think what it's showing here really is the fact that you actually are navigating using a stack, right? It's a stack of different subscriptions, and each of the jobs that you're mentioning here are different. So I want to ask you just how do we start this whole thing off, right? We spoke about this at MWC, right?
Yeah, so MWC, which is around March earlier this year, we were speaking to a lot of mobile operators who were asking us already back then, they were ahead of this curve, how could we help them with AI subscriptions? How could we bundle AI? And then later this summer, we decided to have a look and see what was going on. And the way we did this is we went into Sensor Tower and took a representative set of 21 countries around the world. And we saw that in all of those countries, 95% of them, ChatGPT was either number one or number two in all of those countries for highest grossing, which is extraordinary. So just say that again. Pretty much around the world, ChatGPT is the highest grossing app in the app stores, which is remarkable.
And then I suppose you want to double click, right? This is what we wanted to do, and this is how the research came about. We wanted to double click into this, look at the kind of paying AI subscribers, and then really ask questions around what are they paying for, what tools are they using, what's driving the value, and what's really limiting the growth of these services as well. So should we dig into some of the stats then, Giles?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. So we just did this a month or so ago, and we released it in November. And probably the most staggering stat of all of them is that 67% now rank AI as their single most important subscription. And we've been working in subscription space for a long time, and it's always been subscription video on demand that comes out in these kind of ratings. This is a survey of paying AI subscribers. So there is some bias in here that this is people who have at least one paid for subscription. But amongst this group of, let's call them AI pioneers, 67% say that their AI tool is now their most important subscription.
Pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah, and with that, this is another remarkable statistic, is that 2/3, 61% of those AI pioneers would rather cancel all their streaming services than give up on their AI tools. Again, if you've been in this space for a while and have seen how important streaming services and entertainment is to people's lives, this is an extraordinary statistic, really.
Yeah, and I think on this one, I'd like to do a little bit of a thought experiment, really, with the audience. I mean, if you had to make a choice, if you're using AI quite regularly in your day, like both you and I both do, if you had a choice of whether you keep your Netflix or you keep your ChatGPT license, for example, which is gonna remain, right? I mean, I heavily use AI in my work life now, and a lot of our team do as well. It helps with kind of the thinking, the experimentation, helps with the kind of production of new content. You can move a lot quicker with it, right? But then if I think about my personal life, I'm not as dependent yet. I'm not like you with 11 different subscriptions you got. But I do feel like there is a shift happening. I mean, I do have my Google Assistant that is in most of my rooms in my house. So I do ask for recipes and so on and different things. But I can imagine as that gets more intuitive, more intelligent, you can imagine how that's going to start creeping into your personal life a lot more. But yeah, I mean, if you've got any comments or any, just put them into the chat about how you feel about AI in your daily lives. We'd love to hear from you. Right, Giles, let's dig into some more of the data. So this is looking at what are the actual services that are people subscribing to?
Yeah, so again, 2,000 subscribers, each with at least one paying subscriber, and then they're asked, what are you subscribing to? No surprise, perhaps, ChatGPT is at the top. Gemini, you can see, is charging up here in second spot, and I wonder if we do this next year, if we might see those switch, but let's see. Copilot from Microsoft, of course, and I think this is sort of surprising because a lot of people would get Copilot for free within their Microsoft, it's embedded into a lot of Microsoft products. So interesting that Copilot came out so high. And then, Claude and Perplexity are similar, but then Character AI, I think, is probably a more trivial thing. Don't know much about it. I think it's a kind of create an avatar type fun thing. And then Canva, Notion, Midjourney, Gamma, DeepL. These are probably all more specific, solving a particular problem, and often either creator economy type thing or a work type thing. So interesting, the sort of generalists and then the more specific ones, but they're all ranking surprisingly highly in terms of percentage of people who have those subscriptions.
Yeah, and I think it's really clearly shown that it's a multi-subscription game, right? Because there's different applications, and you're not just buying one AI subscription for music, for example, where you probably have that one subscription. There's a
Yeah,
multifaceted approach here, and I thought this was a really interesting data point as well, Giles. The fact that in the last 6 months, nearly 80% have started paying for them in the last 6 months, paying for the services, which is fascinating. It's literally is fast moving. It's happening quick, and it's happening now, right? So
yeah,
it's a really interesting point.
yeah, totally. So yeah, what do AI subscribers use these tools for? So writing and editing, I think that's where most people came in. I think image creation was probably an entry point for a lot of people. When we first started using AI, I think this was probably how I got in, was to create images, and we can remember the sort of amusing hallucination images that we all created. People with too many limbs and so on. And then other interesting areas: so image creation, video creation, creative thinking, learning and education, search and research. I think this one's kind of a bit of an anomaly. If you think about everyone who's using Google Chrome or Google Search, they will have AI mode within that. So people are probably using AI when they don't even know it, but not paying for it perhaps. And then productivity, generally, personal support, practical advice, and then skipping a few now, coding, of course, healthcare and medical application. Somebody was showing me a survey this morning that had that ranking even higher. So this is people looking for advice, looking for tips, maybe identifying health concerns or whatever, and using the kind of question and answer approach to what is this thing. So really interesting. And then of course translation at the end, which is an extremely strong use case for people around the world, and why DeepL is so popular, I think.
I think what's interesting to hear is that the heavy weighting in each one of these categories as well, Giles. The fact that it's not like it's the one main use case that's being used heavily. It's actually there's a number of different ones in there, which actually shows why there is so many services out there that are doing that as well. So
yeah, I mean, if
it's
I look at
fascinating.
myself, I'm probably all the way down to the 8th one. I'm all of those.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, daily habit. So of these paying AI subscribers, they're using nearly 5, and they're paying for nearly 4 different services, and 14% are actually paying for 8 or more AI subs, which is actually more than me. So they're paying for 8. That's an incredible number of different subscriptions they've got. And of course, when we look at how they're using them, 2/3 of people are using AI daily. I kind of wish we'd asked hourly, because I think I'm using it hourly. I'm sort of every second thing I do is touching AI now. So maybe next time we'll ask that. But that's really interesting, isn't it? A daily use and a weekly use. Pretty much all these people are using it very, very frequently. And yes, it's turned essential. So 77% of people are using AI in their everyday lives, and 74% are using it for their work life. Average spend is currently $66. This is a US survey, which equates to $792. We also asked this question about what would be your maximum, and it's $72, which is very, very interesting. It means the usage is really close to the maximum of what people say that they will use. And here's the remarkable one. This is me again. So a quarter of people are already paying over $100 a month on AI tools. So of these AI pioneers, a quarter of them are already paying over $100 a month, which is extraordinary.
Yeah, and I think this is what's causing kind of this kind of confusion at the moment about the affordability of it all. How can I get them all if I want to use them? And yeah, so I mean, you'll hear just over half actually stating that they can't afford all of these subscriptions. You say you got 11, and you saw those other ones. Some people are just literally saying, I literally can't afford them. Pricing is confusing. What do you get for those higher tiers? So there's not really that much clarity on that there. And then this behavior of a savvy subscriber, which we've covered a few times in our reports. This kind of cancel and then restart your subscription. So again, over half are doing that to manage their expenses, and doing similar with their other services, so like SVOD gaming and so on. But then this is the really interesting part, that 71% saying they plan to add more paid for subscriptions in the next 12 months. So it kind of begs the question, really, of like what's gonna solve this, because it feels like it's building to like a pressure point, really, of the need to release of some sort.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is as the different apps and different services are adding more and more value, they're getting more sophisticated, they're getting more integrated, they're adding like the Disney partnership we talked about earlier on. There's more value being added, different use cases, different ways of using it. It's becoming more integral to our daily life, and yet we want to use more and more of these subscriptions. How does that work? There's a kind of there's a gap here which says I want to use more, but I don't really want to pay more. So it's a very interesting moment we're at the moment. Yeah, so this is another reflection of the same point, really. So if you haven't seen this is quite extraordinary. So ChatGPT recently shared the news that they have 800 million weekly active users, which is extraordinary. But perhaps what's perhaps equally interesting is that they have just 20 million paying for subscribers. So it's about 2.5%. So it's a really interesting moment here where people are getting a lot of value out of these services and tools, and they're getting more and more useful. But of course, the throttling effect means that you can only use them to a certain point, at which point you need to pay. So what we're seeing here is that the demand is increasing, that there's more and more interest, there's more and more reasons to use the AI, and yet people can't afford to go further, but they want to. So there's a really interesting latent demand here, which of course we're now seeing as a massive opportunity for bundling, which is why we're talking about it today. We can see that there's a huge, vast increasing demand for subscription AI, that people are experimenting using lots of different services. The services are getting more and more useful, being more dependent day by day. And they want to have those paid for subscriptions, but they might not necessarily be able to afford it. So this creates an opportunity for bundling. And here we have some data in the report which helps us with this discussion. So 77% want their AI tools bundled with another service. So two parties coming together as a bundle to provide some valuable solution. 74% want AI included within their mobile contract, and a similar number within their banking products. And a similar number again are looking for AI to be part of a super bundling hub, by which we mean multiple different subscriptions coming together and being paid for and managed in one place. And hopefully they'll see some extra value there when doing so. So really interesting that there is a desire for this bundling. So there's an opportunity and a desire. But some of this is already happening, right? So 45% are already getting discounts on AI through their mobile provider. 38% are getting something included on us from their mobile provider. Similarly, with internet and TV providers, they're getting 42% discounts, 31% something free, and 36% are included within another service that they are already paying for, and 27% are getting AI included with their bank or payment provider. So really interesting that bundling is already happening. And as we heard back in March at NWC, I think some of the smart telcos that we were speaking to there were really ahead of the game there and could see this coming and were well prepared for it.
I think the behaviour is interesting as well, Giles, and this particular one, I wanted to focus on this, where we're looking at how AI is being used in tandem with consuming other content, right? So either watching video streaming, so this could be to do with discovery, right? 65% now on discovery and deciding what they're going to watch next, what show details and recommendations, right? You know, it's quite high numbers. People are actually using that. You mentioned probably your Google search and using Gemini as a really quick way of doing that. Even in the gaming side of the world as well. So again, recommendations for new games. Is it cheat codes, strategies, to be able to get through to the next level? And then music, right? Looking to understand the meaning of actual songs, right, and looking for similar artists and so on. So it is starting to integrate, right, and starting to make a really nice kind of partnership between these particular services.
Music one's really interesting, isn't it? I would previously spend a bit of time fumbling around in Wikipedia trying to think, well, which band was this guy on, or didn't he write this song for this other person because it sounds similar. With the chat GPTs of the world, you can get that answer in seconds without having to dig around. So really interesting, yeah.
So you're going to talk about streaming partners, right? This is someone we actually asked about the brands.
So in the world of bundling, there is no more in-demand partnership than that with a subscription video on demand. It's always been the most popular. I guess there's a good synergy between mobile operators, connectivity, and media and entertainment. So we did ask the question, if you were given the choice of bundling AI with another service, who would it be? And no surprise, probably it was Netflix, Prime, Disney Plus, and YouTube that came out as preferred partners. So who knows? We may see those in the future.
And then we've talked about ChatGPT a lot, haven't we, Giles? We kind of dug a little bit deeper into that one, didn't we? So out of the 2,000, there was 71% that have an active ChatGPT license, and then we dug a little bit deeper into those particular subscribers, didn't we?
Yeah, bearing in mind we only did this a month or so ago, there's a couple of questions that we asked which seem to be leading well into what 2026 looks like. So 75% want to handle all their digital tasks without leaving the platform. So they want to manage everything inside ChatGPT. 80% would use ChatGPT as their main digital hub if it combined all their favorite apps in one place. 76% have a ChatGPT as their home screen and their web browser. And 72% of ChatGPT widget on their mobile phone or tablet home screen. So this is really interesting because I think as we go into next year, we're going to see more agentic search and assembling of different things. You can go into ChatGPT now and say, plan me a weekend away in whatever city, and it will pull together information from Booking.com or Expedia and all these different places and create the whole itinerary for you, and then you can go on and book from there. So we are going to see a lot more of our lives staying within these tools. So it's really interesting. And on the right hand side, the search and access, through your mobile phone is really couldn't be easier now, particularly on the iPhone with the widgets and so forth. That you can pretty much get to your GPT within one click, one press, one swipe in a number of different ways. So. Yeah, instant checkout. This is another one that was kind of breaking news at the time of writing the questions for this report. And so we put it in the survey. So instant checkout was a new feature that allows users to buy products without leaving ChatGPT. So we said, would you want to do this? 74% of ChatGPT subscribers want to pay for goods and services directly through the platform. And 78% would want to pay for new subscriptions directly through the platform. So really interesting opportunity, and maybe even a risk to some business models.
So Giles, we've obviously talked a lot about data here. We want to kind of know, how can we solve for this, right? What solution we've got to be able to provide to these providers. So I'll let you talk about this a bit.
Yeah, sure. So success with bundling usually falls into these areas, and it's the same is true here. So with subscription bundles and bundles of any kind, providing flexibility, so being able to provide different tiers, usage packs, segment, offers to different parts of the market will always help widen participation. Connection, so bundling consumers with essential billing services to simplify the billing, and convenience, giving them one bill, one simple login, one simple UX to make it easy to use the services. So try and simplify life through bundling. And there's our image on the right. This is our product, the digital vending machine, which sits behind subscription bundles and makes it easy for the content providers, the subscription brands, and whoever's offering the bundle to offer this kind of complexity in a very easy way.
Yeah, I suppose if you cater for all those three, you're removing that friction, which means then you're not really fighting with the price ceiling. I think that's probably you're not always fighting on price. So, some market examples. Would you talk us through some of these ones we've seen that have surfaced in the last 6 to 12 months?
So Verizon we're pretty much one of the first to go with this, offering the Google AI Pro at a discount. So for $10, you get that as a perk within Verizon. Here in the UK, VMO2 offering Perplexity. France, we have Orange offering Mistral's AI. And of course, Deutsche Telekom launched the Perplexity AI phone. So lots of examples of AI bundling going on. There's some in India with Perplexity as well, with I think it's Airtel. So yeah, it's really interesting the the telcos were ahead of the curve this time. They really were there first in many places. So, kind of well done to them. Oh, and of course our own one. Yes. So DeepL and KT. So this is a relationship that we put together. We're really proud to be doing this. This is KT in Korea. And one of the questions that we asked in our survey came up with this answer. So 64% of AI subscribers already use AI frequently for help learning a language. So really pleased with this DeepL relationship. So DeepL translation app. One of the cool features of DeepL is that if you have a brand name or something you want to say persistent while you're translating, you can set that, and then you just translate into all your languages, and your Bango digital vending machine isn't going to get translated or imagined into another language. So it's really a cool tool.
Cool. Well, thank you, Giles. And I suppose we'll go back to this stat, which I think is probably the most powerful, stat out of the survey in my view. So 67 rank that AI is their single most important subscription in their stack. And the behavior is pretty clear, right? There's multi-tool stacks, daily use, high perceived essentiality of it all, and there's also this tight price headroom at the moment, which is a very interesting place to be. And we've seen this in other industries, but not at this pace of growth that's been happening. So yeah, I think this is why bundling, we feel, is going to be integral in the growth and in the trajectory. And hopefully it can help reduce some of those friction points on how to buy and how to manage in one place. And hopefully we'll be powering those partnerships as well. Giles, any final comments from you that you wanted to wrap up with?
Yeah. I've been taking these stats on the road for the last few weeks. I've been to LA and Qatar and around about, and it still surprises me a little bit that people haven't really realized, I think, on the whole, how prevalent AI has become and the usage of AI. In one of the sessions I was in, at some point, a question from the audience, a session I was participating in was, who here uses AI? Every single hand went up. Okay, hands down. Who isn't using AI? Not a single hand went up. Everybody in that room was using AI. And I think that was an interesting moment for a lot of people there. And then subsequently, we've heard the stats from, ChatGPT, 800 million weekly active users. And if you add in Gemini with 300 odd, Perplexity and the others, you're into about 1 billion people using AI tools, Gen AI and otherwise, every single week, which is really extraordinary. So that number of 67% see it as their most valuable and important tool for these AI pioneers. I think that's going to become more and more people. And of course, as more value gets lumped into these services, then people will be moving from the free tiers to the pay tiers very quickly. So I think we'll see a lot of growth in this area within next year, which is why we're excited about it as a bundling opportunity.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and just a reminder again that the report is easily download. Just scan the QR code and you'll get to the website. It's free, right? It's free information, which I'm sure will be very useful in your businesses. Going to the Q&A, we've got a question from the audience, Giles, one for you. Do you think with the stigma around AI, i.e. users hiding how much they use it, do you think the usage and how much is being spent on their AI is actually higher than the numbers that are being suggested? I suspect some users want to downplay their usage and spend, and I can see how that question's come up. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, totally. Both of those things. I mean, spend is really interesting because these products, for whatever reason, $20 seems to have become the landing place for a lot of these products. So when you've got 4 or 5 of them, you can be spending $100 pretty quickly. And actually, some of them, let's take Kling as an example, or Midjourney, even with a subscription tool, to actually get through a product, even with a subscription, to get through a product, a project, you can top up. You may have to add more on top of your subscription. So it can very quickly get very expensive. So you may be like me, just working on some trivial things as well as work, and maybe you don't want to tell everyone how much you're actually spending on it. And then as for hiding the use of AI, I think that's a really interesting one. I could imagine students may not want to use it. I think there's a bit of a debate around whether using AI to write copy and to the extent it should appear in copy is a bit of an issue. I think my general feeling on that is where we've got to is, if you use it, great, it's an enabler. If I can read that you've used it, that somehow feels like a bad transaction. You know, if I can read some of the it used to be the M dash, now it's phrases like not only this, but also that, or it's clear. If I see words like that, then I feel, oh, you didn't actually put that much effort into it. Now I feel like I'm being ripped off somehow. So there's an interesting, you know, how much we want to use it. And another perspective is, you know, in coding, from what I've heard, some people, you know, it's taking away the interesting bit of problem solving, which for coders is, you know, can be the best bit of the job. So sometimes there's a bit of reluctance to want to use it in certain situations. But yeah, I think it's fascinating, and the use cases. The more you learn, the more you try it, the more you find yourself using it for more and more things. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Thank you for that. Yeah, another question's come through. What would tip AI users from using free AI services into the paying model? Is it worth paying for tools if you're a daily user?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so let's think of a couple of examples. One of the things I've been thinking about since the Disney announcement, so if you're not clear, what's happened is Disney are allowing ChatGPT to use their IP, so their characters from films, within image creation and video creation for Sora. So what that means is you can now create your, you know, have fun little videos or images using this. Now, to be able to create more than a couple of videos, I don't know the number exactly, but to create a few videos, let's say, you're going to very quickly hit the limit on the free tier. But hang on, I want to create Darth Vader and I want to do, you know, Black Panther or whatever, you know, and I've run out of free use. And I think that tension, the more value that's being pumped in there, the more you're going to want to use it. Similarly with Claude, you know, Claude, I like the writing style of Claude. I don't find like I have to change it much, but I'm very quickly hitting a limit. You know, you can only do so many prompts and get the answers back. So you hit a limit very quickly. So I think as these use cases get more and more familiar to people, and they're using the AI tools on a more daily basis for more and more, inevitably, I think you're going to move into a paid subscription. I think the question really is how many you're going to have, not whether you're going to have any. So, you know, I'm currently enjoying having both ChatGPT, which I get through work, but it's, you know, the premium, the pro subscription. And I've got Gemini Pro, which is just every day seems to be getting more and more amazing. You know, another fascinating use case pops out every single day. Next year, they're launching worlds, so you can jump into a world. Who knows what that will cost? Maybe there's going to be another premium tier on top of that. But you can literally go into a world, paint on a wall, look away. Oh, my paint's still on the wall. I mean, it's just mind blowing. What you use that for, I'm not really sure. But you know, imagine Google Earth, but more interactive, I suppose. So it's fascinating. And every single day, something amazing is happening with one of these tools. And as those things happen, it's typically going to be not far away from being a paywall there.
So I think to wrap up, Giles, thank you again for your insights and your expertise on this area. I think if you could you know, deliver one final message to, let's do it in two stages. If you had one final message to AI, you know, people who work for an AI company, what would you say to them? And then on the other side, if you had one clear message that you have to say to a company with a large customer base, a reseller of some sort, they're doing subscriptions, what would you say to them?
So to a subscription brand, I would say there's one of these leading tools has got huge demand behind it, and they want to get to that premium tier, and they want to stay ahead of their competition. So a great way of reaching customers and getting partnerships which are going to deliver value for all the parties concerned is through bundling, particularly if you can get some kind of value increative relationship going. Perhaps the partner puts some money in and you put some money in, bring the price down, and that will help grow the reach of the product. I think there's going to be demand there. It's unmet demand for these premium tiers. And I think there's going to be increasing need for differentiation and cut through next year. You know, how are these brands going to compete with each other? And probably to some extent, there's first mover advantage with some of these tools. where they're kind of approaching feature parity, the one you get familiar with, the one you learn the behaviors with, the one you put your own custom touch onto is the one you're most likely to stick with. So getting in there first is critical, and we're probably getting towards the end of that phase, given nearly 1 billion users already. And then for the reselling side, those who want to offer the bundles, well, clearly there's a fantastic opportunity here. We're talking about a very in-demand product that has a high value, $20, that there is a kind of latent demand, and it's increasing. That demand's increasing. So it's a fantastic opportunity to provide extra value to your customer base through offering one of the fastest growing subscription categories we've ever seen.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think one more question's just popped through, Giles. Which interesting subscription products and categories have you seen bundled with AI subscriptions? Have you seen any of these bundles that are existing at the moment?
That's a good question. I know one we're working on that's really interesting. So let me just describe it without saying what it is. I think where you see complementary services, so there could be a productivity match. It could be like CapCut, for example, which is an image editing, would go really well with any of the AI creation tools. So that's a combination I happen to use. So text to video, text to image, or text to voiceover with an editing tool, or any of those partners together, I think is really interesting. And of course, the data we saw earlier is very popular subscription category of subscription video on demand would go well with very popular category of up and coming subscription brand that's in high demand. So I think there's good fits there. I mean, it fits because there are so many use cases for these AI tools. They fit very well into lots of different packages.
I think it might be interesting with the acquisitions that might happen as well. That might be an interesting thing that might happen in the future of that consolidation happening on a company level. But I think maybe a bundle is a great way to test that out, right? Test that theory out.
Yeah. Well, it's a good point, and that's true for bundling generally. Is that to test partnerships or to test how products work well together, you don't need to do a full acquisition. You can just create a multi-party bundle and see how they play together.
Absolutely. One final question that's come through, and then I think we'll bring this to a close. What would your top bundle be, including an AI subscription service, you personally?
Me personally, well, I think Gemini, if I was starting from day zero, Gemini would be the first down. I like using Suno, but don't tell them I get enough out of their free tier. So I like Suno for music. I like 11 Labs for the voiceover. These are interesting ones. So I'm not paying for Suno. I am paying for 11 Labs, but it's a bit cheaper than some of the others. I think it's £11, something like that. So I like that one. Midjourney I love, and I pay on a per use kind of. I buy a lump of tokens. So that would be one I'd be interested in. And then, this is kind of what happens. As the tools include more and more different capabilities, I need to keep my eye on, am I paying twice for the same thing? So I've got CapCut, but I think 11 Labs now has an editing tool, and probably, one of the video, ChatGPT, Sora, or they'll probably develop a video editing tool. So at some point I need to consolidate a little bit as well. So got to keep my eye on all of this. But I think a text to video, general chat, which both I can get out of Gemini, the music, the video, and the editing would be a good set.
Excellent. Well, I've got to say thank you very much to everyone that's joined and those that watch it on demand as well. We really appreciate your engagement on this topic. This is the final one of 2025, so we'll be back again with a full program in January. Wish you all the very best. Happy holidays, and we'll speak to you all soon. Thanks, Giles, for joining.
Thanks, Ben. Well done this year. Great bite sizes. Love them all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.